Okay, we are live. Thank you very much for joining us for today's conversation. Today we are talking about human resource management and during and after COVID-19. And thank you very much. Today I'm joined by two guests. One is Chris Otera, who is an expert in HR, and Sophie Mwale, who is also the CEO and founder of Employee. Welcome to the program. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I think I would just like you to introduce yourself, and probably our first question would be more of, do you really think that companies need to actually have human resource management departments, or do you think that they need to maybe outsource, especially for the small and medium enterprise companies? And I think we'll start with Chris.
Thank you, Calvin. And as you mentioned, my name is Chris. I'm a HR expert. I've been a HR expert for the last couple of years, about 15 years. Thereabout, I started my career at the Nairobi Hospital. And my last stint now was at African Development Bank, where I was there for the last 3 years. And currently, I'm running my private consultancy agency with various organizations, about 5 or 6 of them that I'm working with. And it's a pleasure for you to host me in this session of yours. Well, I know we are restricted with time because we only have an hour, so I'll try to be as precise as possible. And where I need be, people can always follow up with consultations. You can always be able to share my contacts and my email address and my phone number. Then they can always be able to help with that. So why HR? Why do we need HR in an organization? I think the fundamental aspect of this issue of why we need HR is first to look at who runs the organization. It's the human beings who run the organization. The machines can never be operated by themselves, however much technical you want to go. Even if you are to prepare robots and the robots are to serve, at the end of the day, that robot has to be controlled or programmed by an individual. So in no way we can run away from the fact that human resource is a very key vital element or a resource for an organization. For you to start up a company, you need the financial resources, then you need the human resources, then probably you need the material resources. But if you're working for a manufacturing firm, you need the material so that you can be able to process whatever you're processing. So those are the 3 basic components that any organization will actually be able to run with. So if you have a financial resources, then you have to have a finance manager. If you have the material resources, then you have to have the person who is handling those materials. For example, if you're working in the service industry, then you have to understand what's the core business of that industry. If you're working for health industry, then you know that the main issue, if you're a hospital, you are offering service delivery, which is basically clinical services. If you're working for a telecommunication, the core function is to sell airtime. So those are the services. So we need the person to be able to run those materials of the organization. And lastly, we need the human resource, which is basically the human being aspect of it to be able to control that human resource. Whether or not the SMB or the large business needs, yes, even the SMB, they have human resource issues because the SMBs are actually being run by the humans. In fact, the SMBs need more of human resource because as a startup organization, they need to nurture their talent. They need to align their talent in line with the organization objective. So what is a talent? A talent is a human being.
Yeah.
So my answer is yes, they do, and they actually do need.
Yeah, thank you very much. Sophie, please be able to add some, something on that, and yeah, since that's like what you do on daily basis.
Thank you, Calvin, again. Thank you for having me on this show. So just to introduce myself, I'm Sophie Mwale. I'm the CEO and founder of Employee. Employee is a SaaS-enabled marketplace platform for integrated talent acquisition, management, and growth. So basically, Employee is a smart engine that helps recruiters match their positions to qualified talent, and beyond that, it helps employers just manage their entire talent pipeline and functions. But beyond that, Employee is also a career platform whereby we are providing a mixture of technology tools and also access to qualified professionals to just support job seekers scale their own professional desires. Employ exists in 7 African markets in East, West, and South Africa. And hopefully we are looking also at expansion throughout the rest of the continent and even beyond. Now,
Yeah.
about your question, I think you had asked whether SMEs and organizations in general need to have internal talent departments, HR departments, or whether they should outsource these to third-party providers. I think the answer is mixed. It depends with the size of the organization, the size of the operations, and the size of their teams, and all that. But ultimately, any organization will need some degree of technology involved in their processes, maybe to make things faster, or to bump up on quality, or just to help them and add some more insights that their own human minds may maybe forego. Functions like performance management, functions like recruitment, definitely need a huge, they have a huge deal of paperwork involved and manual work involved, and some level of technology in that process will not hurt an organization in terms of just achieving or managing these processes a lot faster.
Okay, yeah, thank you very much. I think that's really been key. And I mean, during this time, we're facing, the pandemic that is, we're seeing in the entire world, and I think, getting the right talent, getting the right people to work in organization, I think is like one of the main focus right now for companies, for organization, and all that. What's your take on talent acquisitions right now? Now that we are practicing social distancing, how effectively do you feel, like online interviews and all that? And probably maybe you can add on, what do you think employees or the market is looking for at this particular time?
I did it.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I think this was long overdue. And so many, especially international organizations, had already reprogrammed themselves in adopting the contemporary ways of recruitment. It's only the very few companies, especially local companies, which have always been using the conventional way of recruitment, whereby you have to see the individual who is coming. Yeah. Well, having worked for a couple of international organizations, I can actually tell you that most of the time you end up meeting the person on the appointment date. Initially, one of the fears about the conventional way of recruitment was that online people cannot be trusted. But right now, most organizations are putting on measures, especially like a background check, to be able to verify the qualification of the person who is actually applying for this job. It's the mandate of the organization to do the background check prior to employing the person, so that they can verify the information that the person has actually been able to attribute to them. Otherwise, communication is always communication. You can communicate via phone, you can communicate via email, you can communicate via face-to-face. It's the means of communication. So I think it's high time that most organizations have to embrace, one, because it's cost effective. Secondly, it's actually efficient. Thirdly, it is fast. So, it limits the human interaction, not only during COVID, but even in future. Also there's easy in terms of recording of the information, because most of this information, they always say internet doesn't lie. So someone can easily go back and say, look, let me verify the information that was actually given, or the interview that actually took place for the position of head of logistics. So it's the contemporary way to go about it. It has more benefits than face-to-face interviews. And again, you can also have face-to-face because there's Skype. There are very many areas or channels of doing this interview. I think most of the people are seeing live right now. So I think it's the way to go. It's the way to go. Most organizations have not to invest on the IT platform. As you know, the world is now going on 5G. So when you talk about telecommunication, which was also one of the hindering factors previously, because previously you could make phone calls and the calls could drop, you could go on internet, there are downtimes and all those. But with the improvement of technology, now moving from 4G to 5G, it's going to be even much faster. People are even going to make direct calls. You don't need even to be able to do via internet. You can make direct calls, which are video calls. You can be able to have parties attending those meetings. So you can have someone from South Africa, someone from Nigeria, and someone from North Africa attending those interviews at the comfort of their homes, at the comfort of their cars, at the comfort of their wherever they'll be. So the most important thing is to look at what next after the interview. What's most important is now doing a thorough background check for the person that you are able to interview. Make sure, because right now Africa has become a global village. I can tell you, having worked in the African continent, and currently I'm serving a couple of African continent like Zambia. I'm consulting there. Most of our discussions are usually on Skype, or not Skype, actually on Zoom. And when we finish Zoom, we follow up on emails. And it's the responsibility of both parties, me to follow up that whatever it is that I've sent to the foreign country is actually accepted and agreeable. Whatever it is that they're sending to me is actually accepted and agreeable. Background checks becomes very vital. Whom are we employing from Egypt? Which organization are we actually using to verify for us the information of background check? If you have to do background check for a company in Egypt, then you need an international or a global background check company. I may not go for a local company to ask them to do for me a background check of someone who was working in Egypt. Probably he's an Egyptian who worked in Cameroon, you know. So you need someone, you need an organization, a large, good institution which can be able to verify the information that this person has been giving during the interview. And thus, after that, the other process follows normally. For example, you might decide to do an aptitude test for the person. All of this can be done online. So the person does not need to come and you give them you give them a laptop and an Excel sheet and tell them, now I want you to do this. Today we are doing an interview for one of the organizations, and it was a 2-hour interview for every candidate. So 1 hour interview for the candidate to come and express their interests and justify their employment, and the next hour for the candidate to do an aptitude test. So so our interviews were actually running back to back. So we started at 10, and by 2 you are done. Because when you give the person at 10 to 11, they do the interview. Immediately at 11, you send them the aptitude test. At 11, you start with the second candidate. And people are working from the comfort of their home. So I think it's something that was long overdue. And we have to embrace it. Organizations have to start changing from the conventional to adopting the new ways. Invest in technology, invest in your internet solution, invest in good modern laptops. Invest in home office, by the way. Invest in home office, have a cabinet, have tables and all that, so that we're able to have efficient delivery. Actually, even inductions are being done online right now, whereby a company can recruit about 6 people and tell them, okay, guys, you know what? On Monday next week, you're going to have induction, and this is the induction program. So everybody at the comfort of their home just checks into the meeting, whether it's Zoom or whichever platform. And if the CHRO is supposed to open the meeting in the morning, he'll be there by 8 a.m., whichever time of the continent you're working from. So he'll be there at 8 a.m. to start off the session. So everybody is actually pre-planned for their session. So inductions can actually be done through online platforms. So it's something which is long overdue.
Yeah, exactly. Would you add something briefly on what Chris has said as well?
I think he's covered most of it. He's covered most of it. Basically, there is a mindset shift that is expected to happen if it's not yet already started happening. And I think basically the challenges that you find, especially the smaller organizations are faced, is probably affordability of technology. So those are some of the things that the market also has to address, or the ecosystem. The other thing is that you also find most of the technology available. You see, Chris has mentioned a lot of tools for assessment, beyond a face-to-face interview. There is aptitude testing and evaluation. There's all that. But you find that maybe whatever it is that's generic in the market is also may not be customized for this ecosystem. You may find we have aptitudes for tests or platforms for tests from Europe or the US or India, and you find there is like that cultural and language disconnect between the test and the audience.
Yeah.
So I think the job of technology providers is also pretty cut out. It's already been spelled out in this, and it's upon us now just rise up to the challenge for the new normal.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's a very good point that Chris has raised in terms of the processes and all that, and I think obviously it's the new normal. So most companies are looking at strengthening their their HR processes, even if they're going to either outsource or do it internally, and actually putting technology as really good tool in that. And I mean, right now most people are actually working from home. I saw Google actually said that the employees can actually work from home until 2021. The same thing with Facebook and most of these technology companies.
Andela also.
Yeah. So, but one of the challenges that we are living in an age of data. What do you think about data protection when it comes to companies giving their employees opportunity to work from home? How can you be able to trust companies' data when somebody actually can be able to log in from their homes? And do you think that's going to encourage a lot of hacking in future, that we might see companies easily being hacked? Because I'm giving you a third-party information, like you in your home, you can decide to sell that information to maybe a potential hacker. What do you think about that? And do you think there's some things that companies can put in place to be able to avoid such, Chris?
Well, Calvis, with all due respect, as much as we want to embrace technology, which I really agree, there are some industries or there are some roles which may have challenges in moving. For example, the banking industry. If not the banking industry, in your organization, like let's say you're working for a telco, the treasurer. If you're working for a hospital, the nurses, they have to be there. You cannot offer, you cannot dispense medicine through online, or you cannot offer care through online. So there are some other aspects of our work which probably they may have to need intervention. But to come to your point about the issue of security of what you're actually doing, yes, one is that the duties and responsibilities which actually require a teller to be at the bank, then she has to be at the bank. Then the others, how to protect data in terms of leakages and hacking is one, to have a good IT system. Yeah, because right now everybody has to invest in IT. One of the things that I don't do, even when I go to hotel, I do not log into the, let's say you go to Java and they have the Wi-Fi. I don't log into the Wi-Fi. I rather have my private Wi-Fi, because the moment you log into a public Wi-Fi, then you're actually exposed. So the employees working from home, one, they have to have a secure internet provider, that they're not actually sharing with anyone, because the moment you're sharing your internet, then you're actually opening up the opportunities for someone to be able to hack into your system. Secondly, there are what you call the delegation of authority matrix. When you talk about delegation of authority matrix, for example, if you're a CEO, you know what you need to approve. If you're a manager, you know what you need to approve. If you're a senior officer, you know what you need to approve. Then using the internet or using the enterprise resource planning tools, we have said, all these applications that you use in office, then you give each and every employee in accordance with their limit of delegation of authority. That way, then this person cannot be able to do over and above, because, for example, if it's a treasurer assistant who is working from home, he has received the invoice or the to pay. He looks at the invoices, he authorizes the payment. Somebody else from another department or from another who is higher than him or senior than him will do the approval. So even if you hack it from the lower point of it, the hacker will not be able to have an access to the higher point of it. Now, that one is in terms of system. But of course, we know that hackers, they are always becoming clever. Anybody who has a business intention will always be able to manage. So also, as a personal responsibility, if you're working from home, be careful. At times you can be working and you're having visitors who are visiting you there. Not everybody has a good best intention. Be careful with how you handle the office information, because they're supposed to be private and confidential. And that's one of the areas where most people are going to suffer, especially during disciplinary cases, I foresee, because of leakage of data. An employee just leaks the data, or the data is just picked up through a hard drive, or when they're at home and he's working and he's saying to his friend, hey, come see, this is what is actually happening in our company. Do you see what the CEO is doing? Look at what the email that the CEO has just written,
Yeah.
and that information starts leaking out. Right now we have Twitter, we have, you can see how information flows very fast in this Nairobi. Something happens at 10 p.m. and by 10 a.m. and by 11 a.m. everybody knows what's actually happening at the Senate or at the offices, So protection of the data, as an employee, you need to know that whatever information that you're given by the company, it's a responsibility to protect that information. It's a responsibility to guard that information with utmost good faith.
Exactly. Sophie, one of the key things when it comes to increasing companies' output in it's how sense of teamwork, and right now during COVID, most people working from home. How are we going to bring the aspect of teamwork, the aspect of discipline, and even employees being motivated with themselves to be able to work? So how can we go about that? Because I think that's one of the biggest challenges that we are going to experience during this time, in terms of meeting deadlines, in terms of reaching all the goals that the company needs, and actually still bringing the teamwork, the discipline, and actually having a good output.
Okay, so I think there is also a number of solutions that have come up to address all the challenges associated with remote work, right? There's a number of platforms that will either help you manage productivity or manage collaboration. It's a lot of tools out there, starting with the usual tools like Slack and Skype and this thing that we're just live streaming on. Yeah,
We
so
have
I think
Facebook Office, Facebook. Yeah.
So there's a number of tools that are supporting organizations to manage remote work. In terms of teamwork, now beyond just providing the larger what is it called? The larger collaboration and engagement and atmosphere. I don't know what companies are gonna do right now. I know, like, for our team, specifically when we were working from home a couple of weeks ago and beyond, we used to have a number of meetings, either and teasers and all that, because the fatigue is real, by the way, even with the whole working from home. So HR managers and team leaders, they always have to find a way to make sure that they are very well connected to their teams, and they're just trying to understand and support teams, because when people are remote, you really can't tell what challenges they are facing, whether they are having moral challenges or mental fatigue. So I think organizations will have to go an extra mile, because ultimately I don't think the technology tools will build for us every last intuitive feature that we need in terms of people management.
Yeah, and maybe to add on that, I think with the current pandemic moving forward, if it lasts for another 1 year, then we are totally going into a very different socialization dispensation. Why? We are at a time whereby we are even telling our children who are below 10 or 18 years to be careful in terms of socialization. So most people are becoming in-house people or self-isolated. If you move to most of the houses, just before dinner, everybody is always at their tablets, everybody's at their phones and everything, doing their own stuff. So if you talk about socialization, we are going to see a whole different shift of the way human being has been socializing in the 20th and 19th century going back. Right now, we are going to see more independent people. We are going to see more independent-minded people. We are going to see more of writing and more of action than negotiation. People who already have their minds which are fixed. We are doing this, we are doing this. We are going to see more of virtual interaction. Right now, WhatsApp is even becoming dilapidated. People have moved to Instagram. From Instagram, they're moving, I don't know to which one. So the technology keeps on changing, and most of the time you can sit together with someone, let's say having coffee somewhere in a hotel, and the person is actually laughing, and you wonder why is he laughing. Now transfer that one into the employment sector or into the work environment, and you realize that with these changes of technology in our organization, with the new platforms of communication and socialization within the organization, much is going to change. Let me give a very basic example. You may find someone who is actually seated at their desk, but they're actually having a meeting, yeah, probably on a WhatsApp group or on an office outlook group. And it's very difficult because I want to ask for something. I don't want to pick up my phone call because I'm also looking at my screen and working. So I'll just go and open up a group, tap, 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 guys, hi, who has this information? And everybody will be able to chip in that information because everybody is actually expected to be online. So yeah, there's going to be a very big mega shift on our relationship and socialization.
Yeah, and I mean, just to add on something, Chris, in terms of company appraisals, I mean, how is that's gonna be? Because you find that just as we said, there's a bit of limitation. You can't know what Chris is doing. Yes, Chris is working from home, but you really don't know if Chris is working from home. So I know there's some really tools, but how a company really going to measure individual performance, group team performance, and give appraisals to different individuals, and even promoting them without even necessarily being in the company as well. And then how will you even be able to identify new skills in terms of you have a big project and you want to get skill A from this one particular department and add it in skill B in that particular department? How are they going to go about that?
Well, Sophia, take that or go on.
Yeah, so I think in terms of that goes back to productivity. They're still gonna have to use at worst the same tools they've been using for productivity. Just the same way when you assign out tasks to employees, maybe at the beginning of the week, you don't have to sit at their desk the whole day to actually be sure whether they are doing the task or not. So there are a lot of tools for managing productivity. Like an organization like ours, we have an internal project management system where the team leader will assign out projects with outlined tasks broken down in terms of the delivery deadlines and the expected standard of delivery. And the other party on the other side will view these tasks and execute. And once they are done, they will indicate that they've completed on this task. So that's what I was saying, that there are a lot of other tools out here. I think around March and April, we used to see a lot of such project management tools floating around being advertised. I just can't mention any other off the top of my head right now. That's basically what companies are still gonna use. If companies were using, let's say, if you assign out milestones in terms of customer service and engagement, the customer service person is supposed to handle 15 emails in a day and 15 responses and resolve 2 issues. It's the same thing, only that now instead of that thing being done over this desk over here, it's now being done maybe 20 kilometers away. I think that was your question, right?
Yeah, I think that's fine. Maybe Chris can be able to touch in terms of appraisals and even promotions. Yeah.
Yeah, I think in terms of measuring performance and appraisals, nothing much changes because your tasks are your tasks. And in fact, Calvis, just to inform you that there has been a lot of discovery that has been done for the last 6 months about human capital and performance during this COVID period. Last week, I was able to participate in a survey, and we had interviews with various people from different industry and different professionals. And most of them said that they are more productive while working from home, because one of the aspects of working from home is that one, you're supposed to, or naturally, you'll always be online for the better part of your day. When it comes to responses, you'll always be able to respond to your email for the better part of the day. If you're attending a meeting, you're attending a meeting on virtual, yeah, but at the same time, you can be able to view a screen, so you're able to answer to most of the emails that are actually coming for the better part of the day. Now, what has this done in tandem? I'll come to the issue of performance, but what has this done in tandem? In tandem, there has been a lot of positions which have been declared in tandem because people have realized that this accountants, why do you have to have an assistant accountant, senior accountant, So when this person carries a job and goes home, you realize that the assistant accountant and the junior accountant, probably they're not, when I talk about the delegation of matrix authority and matrix, you realize that these people now, probably they have less workload. You get? Because probably this person is working from home and is the one who probably has more information. So you find he's the one who's been doing better part of the task, while the rest now probably they will have less workload. So then it brings to the aspect that one, there could be some possible redundancy because most employers are going to realize that a work which was being done by 3 people can actually be done by 1 person. And that was due to the fact that there were some managers, those conventional managers who always wanted to have numbers. So when they come to the board meeting, they say, me, I control about 300 staff. And it's not in a manufacturing sector, it's actually in the service sector. So why do you need to have 300 staff in a finance department? Why do you need to have 70 HR people in a HR department? Then you realize that the numbers will start cascading. So when it comes to the issue of measuring performance, there's not going to be any difference. An outstanding performer will always be an outstanding performer. A poor performance will be totally exposed because, what is actually given, the objective was set for the week, for the month, for the year. What is given and is actually monitored on a daily basis because everybody does the report at the end of the day. Everybody has to account for the day. Otherwise, your employer will actually think that you're actually stealing from the employer's time. To answer the other issue about productivity, yes, productivity is still there, but unless it's in the manufacturing sector, which definitely we cannot run away from the fact that people have to report to office. You can see like now our judiciary has fully gone into the online platform. Very few cases are being handled physically in our courts, which is a very good way to go. So productivity will remain to be as it is. At the beginning, there has to be challenges because it's a new system. So then they call the learning curve, baby steps. Then soon and very soon, people will be able to run. So I think for Kenya, and I appreciate Kenya technological systems, we are among the first-paced countries to employ these issues of online working and distance working.
I think that's that's good there. I mean, let's go to more of employees' behavior because one of the challenges that we've seen, and we've seen that a lot in the media in terms of some of the challenges that people are facing right now, like domestic violence. How are companies or leaders in companies are going to help the employees in terms of behavior change and even mental health as well? Because right now somebody's working from home, but they actually have their own issues. How are companies helping these people in terms of mental health, in terms of even, let's say, things like domestic violence, and how can they be able to check that? Because you see, in a normal setup, you'd be able to know what somebody's going through. Either they'll come and report to the HR, state their complaint and all that kind of stuff. But how is that going to happen? Because I think that is also a big challenge in terms of mental health and domestic violence and any other aspect that really could actually be a setback to employees.
I can take it. Okay. Well, any change system must be able to have its insights, things which you never expected, things we never foresaw. And yes, actually, the issue about domestic violence have actually increased for the past period of time. Now, they can be attributed to a couple of factors. One, people have actually lost their job, and therefore they're financially strained. And back and forth, you and your wife, you find that this thing is not pulling. Let's dispose of this asset. Let's find out ways of be able to manage our finances. So in that, probably others will end up having a lot of alcohol or getting themselves entangled into drugs and drug abuse. Others, by nature of fact, might be able to, adopt different personality traits. People have actually changed their personality. So there has been an increase, yes, in the domestic violence. Statistics, I do not know yet, but we can actually see. Now, from the first point of view, domestic violence is a criminal offense, even before it comes to HR, because HR cannot, or the organization cannot start, patrolling people from their homes. We can patrol you in office, because if you have an issue in office, then that becomes an office disciplinary matter. But domestic violence starts from home, and once it starts from home, then it becomes a crime against the state. So the first point of reporting a domestic violence is at the police station. Nobody should let a domestic violence to go unpunished or to go unattended to. Now, if the same matter actually affects the employee at their place of work, and it comes to the attention of the HR, it's the responsibility of the HR or the organization, either the manager, it's a collective responsibility, because we do not know under what factors are pushing this lady or this man to behave in that particular way. Others can actually result into drinking, not only with domestic violence, but it's the responsibility of the organization, HR, the line manager, to be able to find out what actually is hurting this person. There are methods that we can always employ, like the employee welfare programs, such as counseling. We can also put the employee on a counseling program. We can put the employee on an alcohol anonymous program or drug rehabilitation program. So we as employees have to be a little bit, employers have to be a little bit empathetic and sympathetic to the status that the person is actually going through. Rather than resolving into harsh penalties, we do not know what is actually ailing the person. But again, that goes into the records, because when habit is repeated severally, then it becomes a behavior. So if it becomes a behavior, it's a pattern that cannot be controlled or be condoned within the organization. Remember that when this employee is actually outside there, he's also representing the flag of that brand of the employer. If you're a KQ staff, if you're an Orange staff, if you're a Safaricom staff, you're actually representing the flag of your organization. So if the brand of the organization is appeared or is perceived to be a violent brand, then the employee is actually hurting your brand. And as an organization there, you may have to make necessary measures to be able to curb this employee from such behaviors.
Okay. Sophie, would you like to add something?
Basically, I think Chris has covered most of it, but I think it's just to reiterate on the need for employers to look out for the mental health of their team members. I mean, people are going through a lot. Our team just today, we were just talking with my head of HR, and we are realizing both of us are really feeling really drained, and we it's not just work related anymore. It's like there's just something bad hanging around the air. So and we realize that it's a thing that's very universal, even with the rest of our teammates. And we realized it's very important to talk to each other and try to see, as an organization, are there solutions that you can provide your teammates in terms of people can just vent and talk. People are facing a lot of challenges out there, and most of them are not just, I think there's the cabin fever, there's the lack of, the fear for what is happening, the lack of assuredness about the future. We don't know how tomorrow will be. You don't know if you'll hold your job tomorrow. So people are pretty overburdened out here. So yeah, maybe just HR managers and business owners just need to think about ways in which that they can support their teams, whether both working remote or at the office. Just support them with the solutions to relieve themselves on whatever burdens people are carrying along.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Just to add on that, I think let's not just limit it to domestic violence. Let's broaden it up to employee well-being, mentally healthy well-being, because you see, domestic violence, there is something that is actually rattling the employee for him to be like that. He is not healthy mentally. That's the reason why he opts to go into domestic violence. But when you talk about overall now looking at even the employee mental health, there are issues about, currently, as we're experiencing these issues of COVID, we have people who are living separately, especially for those who are working for international organizations. When we had a lockdown here in Nairobi, you saw the way so many families were actually affected, because
Mhm.
probably the child was in Kisumu and the mother is in Nairobi and the father is in Mombasa. Already that family is actually distorted, and you're putting this employee to be able to deliver the task of the organization. His mind is not there. And now consider those ones who are working for international organizations. I have a case of someone who is locked down with the wife in down in South Africa. Another child is somewhere in West Africa, and the firstborn is somewhere in North America. So you do not expect this person to be mentally healthy. You know, this is someone who has a lot of issues disturbing him. He has bills already that he has to pay. Keep in mind that he's only thriving on the same income that he was being given by the organization. Nobody is now telling him manage all these three houses and you're going to give you an allowance. So it brings issues about family. It brings issues about money, finances in family. So honestly, someone will not be mentally healthy to concentrate in office. Now, as HR, you need to identify all this, because also they are the small fires that can now start causing issues such as the domestic violence and all those other problems that we'll see.
Yeah.
Someone doing alcohol, someone doing drugs, because overall this person is actually very, very stressed. So HR needs to come in, sympathize and empathize with them. Not even HR, the line manager. I always say that the first person to know about this employee should be the line manager. What's the role of the line manager for him to administer the human resource function at the department? Identifying the issue, reaching out to the employee, finding out the employee challenges are, so that line manager can consult with HR on now better ways to advance this matter.
Yeah, exactly. Uh, I mean, what are some of the technologies that you think, what kind of technology advancement that you think you're going to see in the HRM space, probably in the next 5 years or probably in the next years to come? Because just as Sophie said, we still really don't know how tomorrow is going to be. We don't know if 2021 we're going to go back to a normal life. What are some of the advancements that we're going to see? And do you think that the current, for example, the human resource management information systems, do you think they're really, really effective, or there's more that should be done in that particular area?
Calvin's technology will always change, and I think moving to 2021. People are not sleeping at night. Guys are always working out to give solutions to all the problems that are coming up. Yeah. So technology is adversely, let's just even give a basic example. People here in Kenya, people are buying beds, ward beds for their homes. We've never thought about someone having a ward bed in their home. So people, so much is actually going to change. Now, if you compare that analogy with technology, when you talk about the talent advancement and what's the future of this, a lot of people, as I said, are going to become, one is going to be an issue about social interaction. A lot of people are going to become or adopt more of introvert behaviors. Then a lot of people are going to thrive through technology to be able to achieve the organization objective. So we are going to see more applications coming through. We are going to see more improved human resource management information system, or the MIS for the organization. They're going to be more improved, more efficient. Things like Microsoft Outlook, they need to start thinking of how to make accountability of hours that someone is actually working from home, because some jobs you're told you have to work 8 hours. How are you able to measure that this person has actually worked 8 hours? In some organization, like the technical organization, they're not going to measure you the hours that you've been able to put in place. They're going to measure you with the effective of solutions that you've been able to provide for that particular period of day. So there's going to be a lot of changes in the technological areas that if you do not, the current labor market, if they do not adjust to these technological changes, then they are bound to become irrelevant. You may be having a degree, you may be having your master's, you may be having your PhD, but if you do not quickly adapt into the new technological situation, then you are bound to remain irrelevant in the labor market.
Yeah, I think that's cool. I don't know if you want to add something.
Yeah, of course, tools that are already, of course, being done even currently. Some have been done, but adoption has been less. So we'll see more of it, probably on tools around workforce productivity management. Of course, there is the remote work support tools. Most importantly, what we're going to see is that there'll need to be changes around skilling and upskilling of talent. So we'll also see a lot of solutions around that probably.
Okay, yeah, and I think that's take us to our, I think, almost last question in the aspect of, I mean, how do you see the future of work in terms of the skills that individual people may need? Because I think one of the things that COVID pandemic has shown us is what we call essential services, and we've actually found out that, oh, so actually I'm not part of the essential service game, you know. So how do you see, you know, in terms of skills, in terms of opportunities for the future, aligning with essential services, and almost every company or every service actually want to be essential? How do you see that, and what are some of the skills that we'll definitely need to have? Plus, maybe just also now add, what are some of the things that you know, recruitment companies or HRs would actually be looking for?
I think that's a question I've been looking to talk about for a while myself. I think for especially our market, we may need a cultural shift or a mindset shift as recruiters specifically. I think we've been brought up in a culture that really respects monoskilling or specialization, to be specific. And I think we may need to move beyond that right now. I always see that if someone has studied, let's say, medicine, or someone has had some work experience in the line of medicine or something, it becomes very hard for them to even shift into a different kind of specialization. And I see you find in more developed nations, it's a lot easier for you to meet someone who's a software developer who just a year ago was a nurse, you know. So I think those are some of the shifts that I will be interested to see whether we will adopt more of that as a market, just being able to accept that people can be diverse in their experiences and core competencies. Yeah, so that's one of the things personally I would like to see a change in. Probably this situation will force a change in. The other thing that will be very crucial, of course, is now from at an individual perspective, and maybe organization can also support their staff within this. It's just reassessment and realignment of your own individual capabilities. You know, understanding where the market is going. If you see like you will need to gain more skills in what Calvin here calls the essential services. Are you able to get time and take up an initiative to skill yourself in that line and try to start offering value at whatever official or unofficial capacity that you can to these needed areas? Organizations can help with that too. I've seen a concept that Deloitte is touting a lot. They're calling it an opportunity marketplace, whereby you are providing your internal staff with a marketplace whereby they can cross-skill and multi-skill, and they can even look for part-time work within the organization in different departments and gain skills within those departments. So I think for organizations that can truly think about embracing this will be very interesting and grand. So let's see what the future holds. As I've always said, it's a bit early. There's a lot that we're still learning. There's what we know now that we didn't know in March, and there's a lot that we'll know in December that we don't know today. So we just have to wait and see.
Yeah, thank you very much, Sophia. Chris, I'm sure you can be able to add something.
Yeah, Sophie, I like this Sophia's ideas because, you know, one time I posted something that HR has always conventionally asked, tell us about your plan in the next 5 years. And I asked, is this question still relevant? This day and age? I don't know. So what you're asking me is to tell him which patterns that people need to adopt right now, as Sophie has mentioned them, you know, realignment, you know, Yeah, interchangeable in terms of roles. You can have a nurse who is actually doing software development, and they can be able to give you the best software for nursing solutions. You get, or for hospital
Exactly.
solutions. You can have an agriculturalist, yeah, who has done agricultural economics, or even has done from Egerton University, and they can give you a very good IT solution for precision farming. So you find these people probably, and that's the reason why I respect organizations like Andela. They are actually developing these talents. If you go to Andela, I think you'll find quite a diverse kind of people who, you'll find a finance person doing coding. So it's going to be very, very important. I think your degree will just give you a platform for you to be able to adopt a career in future. But where your career is going, no one will know. However, we shall not run away from the technology aspect of it. Technological solutions are going to be there. More of company processes are going to be more of technologically driven. Industries are just going to be switched on by one button, and you'll have your bluebird being processed once every ingredient has been placed on the systems. So we have to understand that the future person, the second point is that the future employee skills that they need is a solution solver. We need that person who will be able to offer solutions. Companies have so many problems, and people are being employed to come and give solutions to this problem, but they're the ones who are always asking questions. Guys, why are we discussing about COVID 2020, and yet we are actually in COVID? You're trying to offer solutions. So companies will look for more of solution solvers. And on my third point is the issue about innovation and creativity. So guys are going to look for more innovative ways. The employer is going to look for more innovative ways, more creative ways to be able maybe to reach out the market, to be able to solve the client's issues. So we are going to look at the skill sets changing from the normal that we know. You're a finance person, go do finance, do CPAs, for your certification. Very soon, most of those things will become irrelevant. And if you go to, especially to continents like Europe, if you go to America, nobody bothers about your certification to any professional body. It's only in Africa, and most of this certification, I keep on saying that the institute, the CPA, the IHRM, the LSK, they should be able to set up foundation of research. Rather than just taking people through a process whereby, we are collecting dues, it's annual new year, bring your subscription, do all this number of courses for you to be able, and when you go for those courses and those trainings, you're being taught the same thing that you learned about for 5 years ago. They should focus, especially the professional bodies. They should partner with the universities, take their members through research and development. Therefore, we shall be able to know what are going to be the future solutions. Partner with these education organizations, such as organizations like Andela, be able to offer solutions to people in line of your profession. So we need an overhaul body that looks at this in a very wider way, because such skills are going to be lost very fast. They're going to be lost very, very fast. You will find a lawyer who, they will sit back and say, why should I be wasting my time carrying files to go to court, and yet I can be able to be a solution person and offer LSK solutions or the judiciary solution for their problems. So we have to mind about where we are going. Solution solvers, innovative and creative people who are able to interchange their careers and technological solutions.
Yeah, and I think that's really good there. We have one question, which I think it's quite a simple question, from Quizera Martin. I think Quizera must be from maybe Rwanda. Hello, can employer that is affected by COVID postpone a new recruit start date or withdraw job? I think that depends, but anyway, any of you can take it up.
Yeah, that's discrimination and stigmatization. COVID is not once we have COVID, nobody has placed a death sentence of you. We are having people who are able to recover from COVID. And I think the number of people who have recovered from COVID is even higher than the number of people who have succumbed to COVID. So if you give me an employment letter and I'm supposed to start my employment on 1st of July, in fact, that employer is a very good, the employee is a very good employee, because I don't think whether an employee right now should report to office prior to doing a COVID test. Right now, you cannot travel to any country prior to doing a COVID test. So it's the prerogative of the employer to make sure that the person who is actually coming first is actually COVID-free, because the employer has taken a lot of measures to curb the employees from getting this COVID, and it's not good for one person who is coming and as an employee to come and get the other colleagues infected. However, that colleague should not be stigmatized or be discriminated. Be discriminated. It's just 2 weeks, 1 month, and the person will be okay. Let him start his employment. He's going to be under sick off. The whole organization have sick off a policy. Let the employee go for sick off. When he's recovering, let him go back to work.
Yeah, exactly. Did you want to add something? Did you want to add something, Sophie? I think our last, yeah, I think our last, my last question would be, you know, looking at, you know, what is going on in the world. Do you feel that we're going to be looking more into, you know, results oriented vis-a-vis, you know, the time that you invested in, because you see some companies, they just want you to be there, you know, as long as you're in the office, that's it. So do you think that's something that's going to change in terms of driving more results oriented compared to somebody being there in person, or what are companies going to look at? And then you can just finish up by probably telling us your name, you're giving us your contact story on how people can be able to actually reach you as well. I don't know. Yeah.
Sophie?
Okay, yeah. So whether we'll have people changing their work culture and the lessons that they've learned in management or they've observed in management for the longest time, I don't know. I don't know if it's gonna be that drastic anyway. I mean, there are large organizations which don't need a lot of COVID nudging to actually, they understand all the arts of property management and productivity management and managing a workforce. So they probably, most of them have already been having proper tools in terms of managing teams as opposed to just relying on the presence of someone. We have other organizations, specifically maybe SMEs. So that's where the lessons need to be learned. The culture change needs to happen. How soon it's gonna happen will also is yet to be told. But yeah, so I don't see like anything very drastic going to happen in the dynamics of team management that's not been happening previously. Yeah.
Okay. Chris?
No, I think Sophia has covered it all. You know, culture is I always say culture is an animal that nobody can see, nobody can feel, nobody can touch, but it just evolves. It just evolves. It just evolves. So most organizations right now need to prepare for changes. As in, it's going to be a little bit uncomfortable because, as I keep on saying, we've been on conventional way of operating, and right now, moving forward, especially from half year 2020 going forward, we're going to feel ourselves putting on some tight shoes, and we may have to make some adjustment on that kind of shoes as employers and employees.
Okay, exactly. Thank you very much, Chris and Sophie. It was nice having you in this conversation today. And Chris, just give us a parting shot. Probably you'd like to include your email address or maybe website, or people can be able to reach you. I think that'll be very good for those who are even going to watch this video later as well. And then Sophie can do the same.
Let Sophie go first. Let me allow, because I started with the introduction. So let me allow.
Okay, thank you so much, Calvin, for the opportunity to engage with your wonderful viewers on this. I think one thing I would just like to tell guys is that one thing I've learned is that the future is not cancelled. So hang in there, do your best self. And I think this is the year that's gonna determine whether you will be totally crushed or whether you emerge victorious. I tend to believe most of us will emerge victorious. I mean, we are resilient people, we Africans. But yes, beyond that, there are always organizations that are willing to support. Look for support whenever you need it. There is always a solution to whatever problem that you are encountering. There are people that can give you either actual support or technical support and advice to just show you the path or what you're supposed to do. So one of those guys is that an organization like ourselves, we are supporting both job seekers and employers. So you can always reach out whenever you have any job related or work related challenges that you feel like you need advice on. Our web address is www.employee.co. That is employees, EMPLOI, I instead of Y. So www.employee.co or www.employee.co.ke. Yeah, so I think that's the best way to reach out to us. I can also give out our office telephone number, which is 0702 06 82 82. 0702 06 82 82. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chris.
Yeah, what I want to say, today's topic was about, human resource management and the future of workplace, yeah, during this COVID and after COVID. I really take this opportunity, Calvin, to thank you and to encourage, as Sophie has encouraged, the larger colleagues and workers who are being affected by COVID in one way or another, those ones who have lost their job. As Sophia said, yeah, it's not all lost. It's going to be the future will never be the same again. Personally, I compare this like a third world war, but it's purely we are fighting an enemy whom we don't know, called COVID. And therefore, there's going to be a little bit of impact here and there. For those of us who have lost their job, as we've discussed today, we realize that we've said that we have to change our skill sets in order to become relevant for the job market. During this period of COVID, if you've lost a job, do not lose your contacts and your networks. Do not lose your passion to know what's actually happening outside there in the job market. Keep in touch with your professional colleagues and the professional institution because there are so many virtual events that are happening. Most of them are actually for free, especially like this one. You can be able to get a lot of information and education that maybe you couldn't have gotten when you're busy trying to do the 8 to 5 job. It gives you an opportunity to sharpen your skills and be able to, align yourself for the future job market. As we are going to the have to, it's our prayer that the country will actually open, and not only the country, but also the continent and the whole world. And therefore, it's my anticipation that most of the employers will go back and realign their human resources projections and forecasting, and most of them probably will realize that they may need to do a little bit of recruitment here and there. If you look at the job market, signing so many of those job logs, you'll see that quite a number of employers are back to do recruitment. The uptake is quite low because people are not working from office, it's purely virtual. So if you've done an application, do not give up and say, this thing is taking too long for me to be employed. No. It's basically the process that is taking. So sharpen yourself and be able to compete and be competitive. My email address is oterachris@gmail.com, and my phone number is 0721 869 007. James Bond 007. You can reach out. You can always have a chat. Thank you, Calvin, for this opportunity. Really, thank you for the good work you're doing.
Yeah. Thank you very much. That was a very good discussion right there, and would like to appreciate you. Please make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel, and also make sure that you watch this video, share, and let's learn from each other. Thank you very much, Chris, Sotera. Thank you very much, Sophie Mwale. Really appreciate for the time that you are given. I know right now you should be rushing home, but thank you so much. Really, really appreciate it.
Welcome.